Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is SiloMan. Thanks for coming to my channel. Over the next 20 minutes, you're going to be seeing what we're doing to an Atlas F site outside of Roswell, New Mexico, USA. This particular site, construction began in June of 1960, and it took roughly 2 years for the site to be completed, and it was completed during the Cuban Missile Crisis in October of 1962. What you're seeing right now is some of the work that we're doing on the lower level of the Launch Control Center. You'll see a center petition on your left, and currently we're just working on the top of the ceiling, where we've been stripping off some of the old conduits and things like that, and we've already prepped it, i.e. sanding it, put down a primer, and now we're putting on another coat of primer, and then we'll be coming back with a color coat. That upper level floor that you're seeing a close-up of is all steel. Some of those I-beams are 36 inches, so you get a rough idea of the kind of strength that this particular structure has. The Launch Control Center for an Atlas F site is 40 feet in diameter, 27 feet from the top of the concrete ceiling to the bottom of the concrete floor. Each level, however, the lower level is roughly 13 feet 0 inches to the steel floor that you see there. This center petition is a non-load-bearing petition that we built. You'll see the openings around the center column. Those will eventually be shelving that we'll put in there. And then, of course, we're working on the steel floor. Beneath this steel floor, it goes down another 4 feet to the concrete bottom. Originally, this entire steel structure was called a crib, and it was suspended by 4 very, very large pneumatic shocks, which have been, of course, removed when these sites were deactivated in 1965. This site, in 1968, for an example, sold for roughly $1,700 through the government auction. So you can get an idea of the millions and millions of dollars that it took to build these sites. And of course, they were only manned for roughly 24 to 30 months. And then they were deactivated along with the Atlas F, what we call a first generation ICBM sites. You can see here some of that center petition in that center column that I was talking about earlier. You'll see we're just trying to finish up here with getting the ceiling again primed and ready for the color coat. This is the other side of the petition on the lower level of the control center. You'll see some barrels of water. That's potable water that we use for if we have any cleanup or things like that. We do have a few tanks with water, and we finished the plumbing, the rough end plumbing, and at some point we'll get the bathroom put in. But we have water on demand when we need it. This side, we've already finished the ceiling. You can see where we're about to go ahead and start on the area of the wall that we're going to be putting in shelving. Some of the steel floor, you'll also notice that we've taken some Bondo and we Bondoed the cracks, and we'll come back and sand that. And then, of course, we'll put down a primer coat, and then we'll come back with color. Originally, these steel floors had a tile, and we went ahead and removed all of that. Took it all the way back to its original steel floor. On the right is the doorway to the stairwell. You're roughly about 40 feet underground at this point. You can see some of the old drain lines from the original structure itself. We've changed a few things. This particular side that you're looking at would have been where originally the launch console and all the equipment was located in which to launch the Atlas F missile itself. And again, it was a first generation missile, meaning that it was fueled with what we call RP1, which was a finely distilled kerosene, and then liquid oxygen was the oxidizer. And if you understand anything about liquid oxygen, you understand if it comes into even the smallest amount of a hydrocarbon, you have an explosion. And so these sites, given that type of technology, we didn't know at the time. These missiles had to be raised to the surface from their underground silos on what was called a launch platform, which was really just a 4-story elevator. So you can imagine what that had to be like when you had a fully loaded missile of roughly 400,000 pounds. It took a pretty big size elevator to raise it all the way to the surface. This particular site has quite a bit of its original silo structure. So it's been quite fun in terms of a project, on and off now for the last 20 years. So I hope you'll bear with me as I take you through this. Again, where we've been working on some of the floor. We have quite a few welders. We have a plasma cutter, which has made it very nice. On that upper level ceiling, about 1/3 of that we had to put in, both the cross pieces and the plate steel itself. It had been removed by the salvagers, probably, I would imagine, 67, 68. And there you have it. You can see some of the painting going on. And here's the other side of the lower level as we're working on the upper level floor. Just a real fun project. These particular photographs were taken last July 2019, just to give you a time frame. And they were taken with just a little small GoPro 7. Got one little section left. Some of the exterior shots. We've been doing quite a bit of cleanup, being that this was taken during the summer. It gets extremely warm around Roswell, New Mexico. So at that point, we did this very early morning around dawn. Just a little after, we'd go out and start clearing away some of the growth, and then we have a very large pit area that we can burn in, which was originally held the 92,000 gallons worth of water tanks that were originally in there for the site. Those have all been removed by the salvagers. You can see some of the exterior between what we call the wedge, is what the entryway is, and the silo itself on the right. This opening that you see to the right in this photograph is the air exhaust shaft to the silo itself. That's a little bit better picture. Some of the area that we used as storage through the years while we were working on the site. And we're just simply removing the brush one section at a time. This is looking towards the east from basically the silo, what we call the silo cap area. And you can see the entryway there. We also have an antenna up for communication. This particular site is roughly 20 miles from the center of Roswell. Looking to the north, as we're going around, you can see some of the mesquite at this point that we're cutting out. It's coming out pretty good. As we remove this, we worked about 2 hours a day. When it got a little warm, then we went back underground, where of course it's much cooler. Typically, it doesn't matter if it's 120 on the surface. In the control center itself is typically anywhere from 68 degrees down to about 62. So it makes it really nice. Whether it's, where we have a real cold snap, it could be 0 degrees on the surface and it's still a nice 62 in the control center. And we got a couple critters here. You can see the rattlesnake that we found. This is a 1,000-gallon water tank that we have connected to the original line to the underground structure. And you'll be seeing that in the future videos that we put together, and you'll see where we tied all of that in. We're just simply taking care of this rattler. It's pretty good sized. And this is the pit area that was originally holding the water tanks that have been removed. And we're just simply cutting the brush out, piling it up, and then we'll burn it. This particular area that you see where this trailer is, that was for what we called the cooling tower pad. And what that was a cooling tower was originally on that to cool the water for the water chillers that allowed the silo and the rest of the site, we could run the air conditioning. We're burning some of the debris. That particular piece of concrete in the opening that you see there in the middle of the screen is the culminator sight tube. That is how the original missiles in 1960, in which we didn't, of course, have all the satellites that we do today, and the GPS systems. So we had to work off of what we call the North Star, and that's the way in which it was done, through a sight tube in what we call the culminator. And again, we're just burning debris. Most of that steel, some of the junk that we've got there will be loaded up and we'll take it to the dump for them to recycle. And we're cutting more of the mesquite. It took us about 2 weeks at 2 hours every early morning to do the cleanup outside, which made it very, very nice in the long run. It had not been done since around 2004, 2005. My father and I did the bulk of the work on this particular site. So she's starting to clean up nicely. Burning more of the debris in the back. And then we'll go back inside and you can see what we're doing at this point, putting down some Bondo on those cracks. We'll come back and sand that Bondo, and then we'll put a primer on that steel floor. We've already given it an acid bath, in which basically naval jelly, phosphoric acid, to stop any additional rust. And we're just mixing up some of the Bondo here with the hardener and then filling in the cracks. And Mario's finishing up the last bit of painting on the upper level roof. Or ceiling, I should say. And again, here's some shots outside where we're cleaning up real nicely around what we call the silo cap area, and getting rid of the mesquite. So it's starting to look nice. I had not worked on the exterior of this site probably, well, July of 2019 versus probably 2006, so really 13 years, 14 years perhaps. In the background you can see where the original water treatment facility was located. You'll see the two round areas that held water tanks. This particular site took water from the Pecos River, and then it was softened, in which it could be then pumped to these 92,000 gallons. We had 5 water tanks in the ground for a total of 92,000 gallons. That would run the site and the silo. And we're going to start hauling this debris away. Cutting some of the mesquite. These are particular piles that we've loaded up. We'll bring the truck in and a trailer and we'll load that up. You can see how we're going around. Currently you're looking to the south from the east side of the silo cap area. Also looking east as we're going around. Probably next summer we'll also start doing some of the outer areas. We'll be clearing all of that. My old sailboat, a Hobie Cat 16 foot. Some of the different things that we've collected through the years. You can see that was an implement for a 3-point hitch. And we could drill post hole digger. Just different things. You'll see the scrap steel there that came off the floor when we were putting in the new flooring. As I've said before, about 1/3 of that floor was all put in new. And in the coming videos that I'll be putting together, you're going to see some of those photographs. Also next week, this is all new to me, so at that point I'll please hope you bear with me, and I again apologize for not knowing really what I'm doing here, but it's sure been a lot of fun. We're putting the color coat here. You'll notice I did not like this color. It just happened to be that I still used it because I was going to put 2 coats of color on that upper level floor. So at that point we went ahead and gave this the first coat, and then we came back with a more corrected coat. I like using a high gloss oil-based paint, really industrial. It's very easy to clean. You can just simply take a damp rag and wipe everything off. In this particular area of the southwest of the United States, we get a lot of wind, a lot of dust, a lot of dirt. So it makes cleaning super, super easy. Almost got the first coat of color on the ceiling. And you can see we've got the floor. We've already given it the acid bath, and we're putting down the Bondo to fill in for the cracks. On the left is the the doorway that leads to the stairwell. We'll come back and lightly sand this Bondo. Then we'll start putting down the color. We're getting ready to move all of this stuff out so we can finish up the floor. Also, the scaffolding that you see in the background will be disassembled. The tall ladders are really easier. The scaffolding was used when we were putting down the cross beams, and then of course when we were putting the plate steel down and welding it. It made it a lot easier because we could hold it. I'd like to thank everyone for watching. If you would, please subscribe to my channel. Click that bell. And I'm trying to do at least 1 to 2 videos per week. I think the next one you're going to start to see me do a little more live action with video, and we'll be talking you through some of the different projects we do. I've been working on missile bases and silos for about the last 30 years, so you get a general idea of my knowledge base when it comes to first generation. I've also done quite a bit of work on second generation, i.e. Titan IIs. Not a whole lot with Minuteman. The early Minuteman sites. But again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.